Hi. In how the universe started between the science and religion, uh, we previously discussed many theories in concern. One of them was the virtual particle theory, something from nothing, by Professor Lawrence Krauss. And we also discussed the negative pressure subparticles and the inflation by the Professor Alan Guth. Well, these two theories both have riddles. They don't find answers to. And they believe in everlasting, expanding universe, and they believe in that after the inflation, directly the expansion started. Now, a third theory that we didn't come to, and which is important to speak about, it is the theory that Professor Stephen Hawking had, and he wrote its paper just 2 weeks before he dies, and published it in a library. This theory doesn't go similarly to those other theories. Professor Hawking, and I remember in 2011, he came out with the M theory. He tried in the M theory to just unify the micro and macro physics, solve the problems, that is the obstacles, let's say, how to join or to make the universe flow from the micro to the macro without problems, like the laws that Einstein have and the quantum, how to combine them. He tried to do that by his M theory. In the M theory, he supposed that the two rippling membranes in a two-dimensional surface, when they touch each other, they can produce matter. A bang happens and produce matter and energy. Well, that theory was refuted by most of the scientists because they said it is more philosophical than scientific. There is no evidence on something like that they have available in hand. So they refuted it and just started to have other theories, like the virtual theories that came out, I think, in 2013 by the Professor Lawrence Krauss. The inflation theory, it was much earlier, but Professor Alan Guth used to improve that theory to make it work better. It seems to me that Professor Hawking didn't give up his theory of like unifying the micro and macro physics, so that before he dies in 2 weeks, he published a paper in concern. In that paper, that paper has three basics it depended on. Like he said, explained, like if we go back in time in the universe toward the Big Bang, like an arrow, straight to the Big Bang, and when reached just before the Big Bang, we see that the universe was finite and symmetrical. And when he go deeper, with that arrow, there is no 0 point for the start of the universe. There's no 0 point or 0 time. The time just bent around the 0, but don't reach it. Well, it also predicts this theory that the universe didn't start from nothing. Like when there is no 0 time and the time bends around, so that means the universe did not start from nothing. Saying the universe started from nothing, per Professor Hawking, is just like what the scientists think, but actually it didn't start from nothing. Well, to make his theory work, he borrowed the holographic system from the string theory. He thinks, or he thought, that in this paper there is no other way to solve the riddles of the cosmic model already exists or the scientist depends on, but this theory in his last paper. When borrowing the holographic system from the string theory, will solve the problem of like how the universe began by its idea, the string theory idea, that the three-dimensional system could be projected on a two-dimensional system. So this will solve the problem of like how the universe started without reaching the 0 point, and solve the problem that it didn't come from nothing, it came from something existed earlier than the starting point of the universe, the strings. Well, I just copy some of his words in the paper. He says the researchers pull from the string theory concept of holography, which argues that 3D reality, including time and space, can be projected on 2D surface. Hawking and colleagues Thomas Hertog argue that our universe and other pocket universes are not the infinite structures some have proposed. Instead, Hawking says the universe is reasonably smooth and globally finite, setting new boundaries in cosmological history that could ultimately allow the theory to be tested. So the theory of the universe, of this cosmological model, cannot be tested without setting the boundaries to the universe, per Professor Hawking. I repeat what he is saying here. Professor Hawking says the universe is reasonably smooth and global finite, setting new boundaries in cosmological history that could ultimately allow the theory to be tested. Now we're saying that there is a boundary in our past, Hertog added. This is about briefly about what Professor Hawking and his colleague Hertog said in their paper about how the universe started. And this, I believe, is the closest to what the Quran says. If other scientists claim that this theory has no evidence and is more philosophical, as they said before, but they also have their theories, has much of the philosophy as well. They do math, but still there is no evidence. So it is philosophical as well. Now, let's go back. What's the similarities between this paper or theory said by Professor Hawking and Professor Hertog? What the Quran says about this stage? Well, the Quran mentions the al-fatil. Al-fatil could be translated to English as strings. It is an ayah that speaks to the people, telling them that Allah will not oppress people that small. Nothing smaller could be in the universe, which is the fatil. Well, the fatil, some Muslims describe it as the part of nut of date, but the string in the nut of the date is not the smallest thing in the universe. There is smaller. So the Quran is telling the people that they will not be oppressed by nothing smaller or anything smaller than anything else. It can be smaller than the fatil. No one can be oppressed even smaller than the fatil, which is the fatil, the smallest thing. Nothing else existed smaller than it. And the string theory, it says that the smallest subparticles or primary things in the universe. Now, these subparticles or these fatil or strings existed before the Big Bang, before the crack of the skies and the earth, or before the start of this universe. The universe, they existed. Actually, before the crack of the skies and the earth, Allah created the throne. The throne is primarily is of four, or basically is of four lights, of four divine lights. And it is concentric in four layers. In the center layer is the given an example as a tree of olive tree. This is has movement and vital and can give the light of the throne its sources or its power. At this place in the throne, Allah created the strings. The strings were, or primary things as Imam Ali named them, they were motionless, not alive. They had their properties included with them, but not attached to them, but not working. There was the ghost field, known to the scientists as the Higgs field. In addition, the universe, those primary things were categorized in special categories. Each goes for like the energies in a category, the primary things of the matter, in a different category, humans, primary things in a different category, the cattle, and the mobile creatures. All of them are separated in that place before creating the universe bubble. When the crack in the skies and the earth started, I usually give this example. It is like a cloud. This cloud, which is very dark cloud and very thick, that doesn't allow any of these primary things to spill out until they get loosened and get lighter, where these primary things start to spill in the universe bubble. Well, the Quran never said that the universe created from nothing. The Quran says that the universe was created from the primary things, and there was a crack when these primary things started to spill inside like rain in this universe bubble. Now, I believe this point catches or go very close to what Professor Hawking is saying, like projecting from the two-dimensional to the three-dimensional. Like these primary things were in the throne, in the part of the throne, and when the crack happens, they entered in the universe bubble from the two-dimensional, and our universe is a three-dimensional bubble. So it is projected from that place to our universe. This is go very close to what the Quran says, and the Quran says that the universe is finite. It also says that this bubble, by the inflation, grew bigger. It has a boundary. The universe has a boundary, not necessarily like a wall, but could be a wind boundary separates between the different parts of the universe. Like when these primary things enter this universe bubble, the ghosts were turned off before the crack and turned on after the crack. When that happened, they gained their masses and their properties. The primary things gained their masses and their properties, and that is before creating the space-time curvature. They were in three concentric parts. The center had the heaviest, which is the energies, the unified energies, surrounded by a wind. That stormy wind separated between the primary things of the matter and that unified forces. The primary things of the matter were the primordial water. And later, when the Big Bang, when the space-time created and the Big Bang started, an interaction between the forces, unified forces, and the primordial water began, creating the atom and the space-time curvature. But at this stage, before the space-time curvature exists and the atom exists, or the atom created, there was just a three-dimensional bubble. That three-dimensional bubble had the primary things in from a two-dimensional place, which started to have their properties and mass in. Now, there are more description in the Quran about how that two dimensional space or place or system existed and what it consists of, but it is not of our intention now. We don't need like to let's like speak just about what the scientists are thinking of. If we go further, they will say we don't have a proof on this point and we think it is philosophical. Okay, what will they say about the other point on how and where the primary things existed in the two-dimensional and how they existed and what caused them to exist? For sure, they were created, but there were some like some environmental thing, like some things allowed them to a situation allowed them to exist. Now, from what we just explained, that I find there is so much similarity between the string and the theory in Professor Hawking paper before he dies. There is so much similarity between them. They are close to each other. Just the names are different, and it is just an imagination, like a two-dimensional to a three-dimensional. I don't have anything in the Quran tells about two-dimensional, three-dimensional. It says about there is a throne created, which is the throne. The throne is created of 4 divine light. From these divine lights, Allah created our primary things of our universe. Well, now we covered like the 3 major theories about how the universe started. Myself, I find Professor Hawking paper and the string theory are very much closer to what is being said in the Quran. The Quran has the kitab which was revealed on Messenger Musa and revealed again on Messenger Muhammad as a true copy of what Musa had. It tells about the timeline of creation step by step from the beginning of creating the universe to its end. And that's what I understand from the ayat of the kitab on how the universe started. And I believe the string theory is not a philosophical, it's something has to be proven right. And the theory of this paper of Professor Hawking is very much close to the Quran, and let's see like where other theories will come to and where they will end. At this point, I say thank you for your listening and have a good night.